This is a recipe that we're going to make today with leftovers in mind. Corned beef hash or hash is one of the simplest things that you can make. It's probably the perfect brunch or breakfast dish. It kind of works really well with eggs in almost any style you could think of. If you have some leftover like roasted potatoes from Thanksgiving or leftover sweet potatoes that aren't like terribly candied, you can use that here. But there's so many substitutions that you can make. And if you're new here, I make delicious recipes just like the one you're about to watch. So make sure you hit subscribe and hit the bell. You'll get notified when new videos are posted. Hit a like on this video. And if you've ever seen my recipes and really like them, please consider picking up my ebook. Go to buymeacoffee.com/DerryX. Let's get right into cooking this. Here I have a very wide cast iron skillet preheating. Then here I have a diced onion. I like to use Vidalia onion or a sweet onion or shallot. Shallot works really good. And here I have some roasted sweet potatoes. These are actually cooked quite a lot, so I cut them kind of on the large side. If you go too small on it, this is just gonna mash in the pan. You don't want that. And here I have some corned beef. If you have leftover turkey, especially the dark meat, that would work just fine in this recipe. How this comes together is so easy. There's a couple of kind of little tricks to the method that you'll pick up as we do this. You see our pan is super hot. You can probably see it's wisping up. I'm gonna actually add some olive oil, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. And now here we have our trifecta. We have our sweet potato, we have our corned beef, and we have our onion. So I'm gonna put them on the pan here. Important, pinch of salt, mainly on the onion and on the sweet potato. Cracked black pepper, mix that up, get everything coated in the oil. Basically, you want this to pick up some nice color. I'm gonna say right now, the hardest part of this recipe is figuring out how you're gonna cook your eggs. I'm going right for a sunny side up for this. I love the idea of breaking the yolk right over the hash. It's one of my favorite things. You could do poached. It's a little more work, a little more tedious. So this is looking great. The onions are starting to get nice and dark golden. Now with the potatoes, you want to try to move them around, and you see that nice crust that they pick up? You want that to kind of happen on all sides. We're almost done. This just needs another couple minutes. And the corned beef, that's going to pick up color too. So move that around. And when it looks like everything is getting mixed up enough, just go ahead and mix it all in. Whatever. This way your onion starts to flavor everything too. It's important, keep it in a single layer on here. And you see I'm mashing up these potatoes. You gotta be gentle with it. You can't be a brute like me. I'm gonna call this done while it picks up the last bit of color, and I'm gonna start working on my eggs. Sunny side up eggs are pretty simple. I have in a pan here some Irish butter heating. 2 eggs, you always gotta have 2. While we're waiting for the butter to melt to cook the eggs, the last couple seasonings, I'm gonna go with smoked paprika for the hash. A little bit. That's gonna help it with some color and some low-key flavor. And then garlic powder. Give that a nice mix. As soon as that paprika hit the pan, it smells so beautiful and lovely. That hash is done. Our pan has our butter melted. Eggs are getting cracked. Right in. I like to start the eggs in a cold pan. Can't forget to season, salt, a little bit of pepper, and just let those cook. A common misconception about cast iron is that stuff sticks to it. That's true if you're not using it correctly. I mean, there's foods that are always gonna stick to cast iron, but something like sweet potatoes, onions, those things will almost never stick if you're working with a hot enough pan. Let me show you. Basically nothing stuck to the pan here. It all kind of is lifting off very easily. This is gonna be real easy to clean up. Our eggs are cooking up nicely. Basically, you don't want to go too hard on them. So I'm actually just going to pull them off the heat a little bit. You see that kind of golden color on top of the eggs? That's the butter. That's why I love using Irish butter for this. That little extra butter is actually going to seep into our hash, and it's going to make it taste so much more amazing. Sometimes I add butter at the end of the hash. There's plenty of fatness between the olive oil, the egg yolks, the butter. Heat's going off. Let's plate it up. It's kind of rustic. See, just go right off. It's a heavy ass pan, man. It's hard to do this for the camera, and what am I complaining about? There we are. Eggs, perfectly cooked eggs. With a sunny side up egg, it needs to be fluffy, not hard. And that's what we got here. You can see they still jiggle around the pan a little bit. So 1 egg, 2 egg, and then gotta go with direct extra butter. Let's eat. I have a ritual when I taste hash. I kind of go, there's an order I do everything in. It's definitely a compulsion, but I always like to taste the hash on its own first. Definitely get some of all the components. So here we have some corned beef, some onion, some sweet potato. That's so good. When corned beef gets cooked in that way, it picks up some color. Sometimes for me, corned beef on its own, like boiled corned beef, is not exactly a palatable thing, depending on who's cooking it. Here, when it picks up that color, because it's been cooked down, it kind of melts in your mouth even more, but also has a little bit of texture. The addition of the smoked paprika adds some like depth. So the next thing I do is you gotta pop the egg. So, oh man. That is a perfectly cooked egg. And then try some with the runny yolk. That's like my favorite, is getting like a poached or a fried egg on top of hash. I'm more likely to order something like that when we go to brunch than a waffle or pancakes. That's so good. And cooking the egg in the Irish butter, also phenomenal. Step 3, hot sauce. I always go with sriracha. It's just my thing. A lot of diners don't have sriracha, so you go with whatever they got. Tabasco works good, but you gotta, that's great. If you enjoyed this, I'll leave all my restaurant quality recipes, how to cook those right here. And I'll leave my dining reviews here. This weekend, this Saturday, we're going to a place for brunch to have some hash. You're gonna have to see whether or not it was good, it was gonna measure up to this. So check all that out.